Well, hey, welcome everybody. We are soft launching a new initiative today. And so I'm going to jump right in because we only have an hour right now. But as I'll share with you, this is something we're going to be doing very frequently in the months to come. So thanks for dropping by for this first one. And let's jump right into it. We are going to be working from a few different places, but first we'll be working from the Andamio documentation. And I'm going to share screen right now. The link is in the chat. All right, so homepage, navigate into the documentation, great. And over here in the left side navigation, you'll see that we have an Andamio Pioneers program. Welcome. We haven't officially launched yet. That's happening in January. Right now, we're soft launching this program to test out some systems and to start building with some friends. Not yet seeing anybody here that I haven't met before, so thanks for showing up. But as we start to communicate more about what's happening here, there's going to be broader broadcast public messages as we go out. And we're going to evolve these documents together as we start to build this program. Andamio version 2 is coming next month, and it's a big time upgrade to the whole Andamio protocol and platform. We've made on-chain improvements that we're going to explore together, off-chain changes that we're going to explore together. And we're right now in the final stages of preparing it. Most of the work is done. We're starting to roll out individual transactions and individual APIs on pre-prod, and we can play with those transactions starting. So that's the current place we're in. And what we want to be doing as we roll all of this out is building in public all the time. And this is a bit of a reclaiming of part of what we were doing at Gimbalabs in the very early days. But just a really quick history, in case you're not aware of this, the very first code for what would turn into Andamio were built at Gimbalabs in 2021. We were really cultivating a space where people could tinker with this new technology called Cardano. And I think Gimbalabs did a very special job of combining the ability to talk about both technical and social or philosophical questions. And so if you were there, maybe you remember talking about concert ticketing. There were a few different use cases that we looked at and never even fully built together. But we had a chance to say, okay, given the tools we have right now, how would this work? And what would it mean to build these systems? In 2026, Andamio is taking this on. There's a new thing in the world called Andamio. And in these spaces, we're going to investigate how it works and what we might build upon it, but also what it might mean now that we have these tools. And just on a personal note, this is something that I've never lost in these last few years, but we've kind of been in heads down building mode in a lot of ways. And, you know, I think I'm really proud of the work that's continued at Gimbalabs, and thank you to everybody here who is involved in keeping that going. But I recognize that, you know, just kind of reinvigorating these spaces where we're able to have these both focused and far-reaching conversations about what the tech is. I'm excited to turn this lens on Andamio and do what we've done together for years. So you're invited to collaborate as we start to build in public. If you see a chance to take on a leadership role building something, if you have an idea, Andamio is an open and permissionless system that anybody's able to build upon. And as you'll see, we've made some design decisions to really make sure that that's true. And we want to continue rolling that out into the world. And if you have ideas for how to evolve this program, we'll do that too. So how do we get started? Well, this is what we're here to do today. If you found this link, you're probably on Discord because that's where we shared the link. But there is a link here just in case you ever want to share this with anybody else. We will use GitHub for project management. So during this meeting, either in Discord or right here in the chat, please do share your Discord handle with me, and I'll show you the repo that and the team that I'll add you to. We'll do this today. And then the goal is for you to be able to pull down the code for the Andamio T3 app template, grab the environment variables from down here, and start to use it. Then we can start to play around. So that's the technical goal today, is to get everybody working with this template. I can share screen as needed to show you what's there, but also you can share screen if we need to troubleshoot everything. And then just while we're still on tools, obviously we're using Google Meet right now. The reason we're using it is that it makes it really easy to record, to share the recordings, and then even to share in a simple Google Doc the transcript of the meeting. So we'll share all of that, and we'll store it in the live coding archive right here in the documentation, okay? Any questions about the tools of the trade or how we're going to start out? All right. So if you would be so kind, I think I need to share a different window here because I'm logged in with GitHub over here. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, let me change what I'm sharing for just a moment. So here I'm on GitHub in the Andamio platform. We have a new team called Andamio Pioneers 2026. I would like to add people to this team so that you can get access to the repo in question. And so if you want to take care of that right now, just shoot me via Discord or in the meeting chat right here, your Discord handle, and I'll make sure to add you. I think I know Newman's off the top of my head. Will it autocomplete? There he is. All right. Newman, any objections to me adding you to this one?
No, please do. Thank you.
And then Lewis, I haven't memorized yours yet. Oh, there you are. First one in my autocomplete, though. That's easy. Who else? Harsha, got Harsha. Oh, and there's Lewis in the chat. Thank you. If you're on the Andamio team, you're already here. Here. Hey, Lucas. Hey, Izzy. Hey, guys. Hey, Tivo. Yeah, happy to add you guys.
Hello.
How are you?
No, doing great. I think it's my first kind of free day, so I'm just bouncing from community meeting to another one,
Nice.
learning what people are doing.
Cool.
But I don't think I will code anything with this Andamio yet, so I'm gonna stay out of the GitHub.
No problem. All right. While those are coming in, Shaggy's here. Hey, man.
Good morning, everyone.
Hey, hey. I'm just inviting people to share their GitHub handle if they want to, have access to this team, which will give you access to a repository that we're working on.
Okay, I know Izzy doesn't have one, so I'll just I'll drop the Solidity Records GitHub in the comments. Give me a second.
Perfect.
Whenever Izzy is around, then I know that it's to get real. It's good to see you.
I'm glad you guys realize that. Thank you.
We leveled up. I know I'm leveled up. When I see Izzy is around, I see Shaggy in the same spot. I'm like, oh boy, here we go.
One love, bro.
I don't think I've talked to you since I got a bassist in my band named Izzy. So now when you show up, I get confused. I'm like,
Oh, boy.
there's that musician,
Ah,
but I got two of those in my life now.
just say human. I'm cool with that too. Mr. Human.
Which Izzy is this? Oh, the human. Okay, human. Got it. We joke, but the days are coming.
Right.
I agree.
Oh boy. Get things done now. I am pretty stoked. I mean, this does seem like a really cool. It's great to get that little bit of history that it was, that Andamio was kind of incubated in a way back in those early days of Gimbalabs, and then the ability as we version up, as Andamio versions up, that that we'll go back to that building in public, which for me is the juice. Like I love being involved with something that I know the guts of it. Not just open source, but like open building.
Couldn't agree more. Yep. And I think now's the time for it. And I do believe that the whole Cardano community is ready to return to this space. So let's be standards bearers of that, right? We need these spaces to get excited and be really returning to some of the original visions that got us here. And that's what I intend to do. I think we're going to really make great use of this space. So by virtue of looking at these environment variables, I want to tell you where we are right now and where we will be by January. So right now in the environment variables, and you can just copy and paste this directly into an env file at the root of your project after you pull down the T3 app. But what you're going to see here is, okay, well, we have this database API URL, and we have this Andamio scan, and we have this preprod v2 transaction API, 3 different APIs, okay? When we actually publicly launch Andamio v2 and it's ready to go on mainnet, all 3 of these data sources will be wrapped up in a single Andamio API. But we're still putting the finishing touches on that, and we are building these as we go. So the Andamio database, this does most of what Andamio v1, if you've used that, right? It's currently at app.andamio.io. This does most of what that database does. The Andamio scan is a dramatic upgrade to how we are indexing on-chain data. It's an upgrade in terms of both performance and in terms of developer ease of use. And so these are going live. We'll play with some of these right now. But what's currently live right here is just some of the global queries and some of the course interactions. But we haven't yet put all of the project endpoints up on Andamio scan. Those are still in development. Similarly with the transactions, major improvement in terms of developer experience, in terms of performance, and even in terms of on-chain cost, which is really exciting. But we haven't published all of them yet. And so this will be evolving, and we'll be releasing new endpoints over the next few weeks, okay? And so as we continue to build those, what we have is this, we call it the T3 app template, whoops, which I need to log in to see. I'll jump to that in just a second, and we'll look at that code. But what we have this template where we can play around with these endpoints for now. And then when the Andamio API is ready, right, that'll give us a single environment variable. And we'll do just a little bit of cleanup in the T3 app template to make sure it works with that unified API. What I'm describing is kind of annoying busy work, right? We know the time it takes to update the reference to an API. And so we want to make sure that the code is modular enough with as little repetition as possible so that it's really easy to make these changes as they go. And of course, at the very same time, all of the ways of working we have here are defined by this new kind of agent-supported development strategy that we're all kind of exploring together right here. And so that's another key thing we're going to explore as we go. So I'd like to open up the code base for this T3 template and just show you a couple of things on there. And in particular, I'd like to show you how we're scaffolding it to use these agentic tools. Before I do that, let me add Solidity to this team. There we go. All right, so everybody should have a pending invitation and you should be able to review this code. We're going to do this session again later today, similar agenda, but different flavor each time as we start to go deeper and deeper. And so if you want to try, like, watch this intro for today and then try it on your own, or come back later today and try it on your own, all of those are options. But let me know if you are doing this in the background and you get stuck. That's exactly what I'd love to be looking at with everybody. Let me open up the T3 app template. I'm going to open it in VS Code. Here it is. All right, so this, if you're familiar with the T3 app template, I know a bunch of people from Gimbalabs already are, you'll find this familiar enough. When I look at the source server directory and this root folder right here, you can see that we're not even really using it. So even though this is called a T3 app template, it would do for it to just be a Next.js template for now. We're not assuming that anybody using this thing is creating their own database schema to build on top of it. The reason we're leaving it like this, however, is that it is built to be extensible. So if you know about TRPC, if you want to run your own database separately from the one that Andamio runs, or if you want to build a new database that does things that the Andamio database doesn't do, you have the Rails here to play around with that. Okay, so we're going to leave this a T3 template for now. We will probably create a version in January that's just Next.js and is even simpler to use. But for now, just know you have this to play with. And once you have access to this repo, you can clone it, fork it, create all sorts of branches, and play around, do whatever you want with it. Okay, it's MIT licensed. And the goal here is for it to be fully open sourced, well documented, and accessible to everybody in January. So let me show you some of the agentic stuff we've been doing. If you're familiar with using whether it's an editor like Windsurf or Cursor or Anti-Gravity, or if you're using an LLM like ChatGPT or Claude, you'll be familiar with some of these patterns. I happen to use Claude. It's my current preference. Not a strongly held preference, but I'm happy enough with how it works. And so that's why you'll see there's a .claude directory right here. And inside of it, there's a claude.md file, which this is how Claude works. The good news is a few of us have taken this document to other LLMs, and we've asked them, hey, ChatGPT, can you read this? And it says yes. Hey, Google Gemini, can you read this? Does this work with anti-gravity? Yes, great, great, great. Okay, so the name of the file is for Claude, but the contents of the file are just machine readable documentation about how this whole app template works. Now, this is already a pretty big file, about 500 lines, okay. But then there's also links from this file to other documentation. And so when you see these other markdown files with all caps, these are typically agent generated and agent readable documentation files. Why? Well, we want people to be able to build with this template by whatever modality is most effective for them. And for more and more people, we're getting pretty good at, even if we're not asking an agent to build the whole thing, we're getting pretty good at getting some help, asking a question. And we want whatever agent you use to have as much context as possible. And that's what these documents and the claude.md are going to provide. Any questions about that? Okay. This is one of those technical and philosophical questions that if you're interested in exploring it, I think we'll be doing a lot with this in the coming months. Looking at, okay, when is it a good idea to vibe code this thing? And one place that I'm really interested, I know that I'm already exercising more because of vibe coding, right? Like if I give an agent a command, it's not like I'm sitting there in my seat staring at the screen. That's a chance to dance around or do some push-ups or something. And in a similar way, I'm excited to explore with anybody who's interested, what kinds of conversations can we have with an agent running in the background, right? If we say, hey, can we make it do this? And we collectively decide to throw a prompt in there, and we do want to watch its response so we can learn from it, but we can also explore, hey, what else can we do at that time? Now that this system can kind of build itself as it goes, that creates space for strategic or higher level conversations. So that's one of the kind of softer but like AI adjacent things that I'm also hoping that we can do in this space in the time to come. Now, finally, right, I'm showing you kind of the scaffolding for this thing. I'm showing you what the agent has produced in terms of documentation, but I have to come clean. Actually, in this entire T3 app template, I think on total, the entire Andamio development team has probably written a couple dozen lines of code, right? What we've done is we've done an experiment with having Claude build this entire application. Now, we didn't just do that by dreaming it up from a, like a Claude internet prompt, right? What we did is we carefully and painstakingly built context for this thing. And then once that context is well refined, we work with it to implement features very quickly. And so these markdown files are part of that documentation. But when you look into the components themselves, when you look at it, oh, that's one's not very interesting, right? When you look into the components themselves, all of this front-end code is agent generated. How can you tell? I don't have time to write comments like this as often as I want to, right? So you'll hopefully find that this is a nice thing, right? Because you'll find some really good examples and really good comments in here. So let's back up just a tiny bit. This template, what is it built upon? There's a couple things, and we can look at the environment variables first. I already shared these in the documentation. You can copy and paste them into your local. I think I actually just already shared them in the, they're already in the example as well. So you can just delete the .example from here or make a copy of this file like it says, okay? But let's take a little look here. So first of all, we have a database API, all right, and there's Swagger docs for this, which we will look at. We have the Andamio scan kind of on-chain data API and the transaction building API. This database API is built in a separate repository. We're not open sourcing it yet, but I want to show it to you. And I'm happy to start adding people to it if you want to take a look, okay? But we're going to look at that, and then we're going to look at another package. So before I exit this repo, I want to show you the dependencies for this template, right? And right here. And yeah, let me hand it off to Shaggy for a question, and then I'll pick it up. Shaggy, what do you think?
Yo, this is awesome. I'm gonna keep this super brief. Is there any particular methodology that goes into tracking contributors as far as like if somebody's contributing with Claude or whatever, would you want somewhere for us to notate that, as opposed to if it's manually added code, manually edited?
Excellent. Okay, that's I don't have a strong opinion on that. And I think that's one of those philosophical questions we should be talking about as we go. Everybody here is welcome to make PRs to this template if you start to want to. And in terms of, actually rewarding contributors, that's what we're going to launch in January. This is like our soft launch building up to that, but we will have a treasury with tokens in it to give out. But that's not exactly what Shaggy's asking about. Shaggy's saying, well, if I can put a PR into GitHub, should I indicate if a robot helped me with it, right? And for now, there's no rules about that. Leave it up to you. I know that the rule I've been following is that, if I'm making the Git commit myself, I might not mention that Claude helped me, but it's going to be obvious in the notes. And sometimes if I ask, Claude to actually make the commit for me and it gives itself credit, I don't stop it from doing that. So, right, just let's explore and let's see if it's meaningful to people to make that distinction. But yeah, great question.
Thank you, James.
Yep. So you'll see these dependencies right here. We have 2 new NPM packages, and they're both on an early version 0.40 as we're testing. We have a DB API package, and what this does is it provides types for when you connect to this Andamio DB API, right? And then we have another one called Andamio Transactions that is a set of definitions for the transactions that we're using here in this project. This might not exist in this form forever. We have some really good conversations going on internally in the Andamio team. We're going to document these and bring some decisions back to all of you. But the idea of these was really with that kind of agentic coding in mind. So I want to now show you the source code for these transactions. And so I'm going to keep working in this space. I'm just going to add a new folder here. Let me pull in the whole. Okay. All right, so we'll talk about the architecture of the directory that's now open as we go. All I want to do for now is show you that in this mono repo, we have a package called Andamio Transactions. And if you've used packages but never built one before, the way you give a package a name like this is also in the package JSON file. So if I go here, you'll see, look, the name of this package is Andamio Transactions, and we're on 0.40. And that matches what I'm importing right here. Okay. Now, what's in here is a set of definitions. There's also some helpful scripts. We're going to talk about those as we go. But I want to show you the high-level definitions that we have. Now, like I shared earlier, we haven't built all of these transactions yet. We have a Mint access token transaction, and we have some course interactions. Somebody can create a course and add teachers to it. A student can enroll in the course, update an assignment, or claim their credential. And a teacher manages the course modules and assesses student assignments. We can look at any one of these. Let's look at the enrollment transaction. And what you'll see here is we have this data structure that keeps track of a few different things. This is probably not, like I mentioned, its final format, but just look at what it's doing. It's saying, hey, for this transaction, here are the parameters you need to build that transaction. Here are some parameters that you will need to run side effects in the database upon the successful submission or confirmation of this transaction. And here are the endpoints where you can get this functionality, right? Here's the endpoint for building a transaction. Here's an endpoint for the on-submit side effect. And here's an endpoint for the on-confirmation side effect. It took some careful attention to detail to build this file. But why was it worth the time? Well, because once this file exists, we can create other ones like it. And once we have several examples, we can start to get agents to help. But most importantly, once we have a vetted file like this, defining each transaction in the system, then we can sit back and let an agent like Claude do the work of building the whole front end. So I mentioned a few minutes ago that the T3 template that you are now a member of was mostly built by an agent, right? Upwards of 90% of it. But the reason it was able to do that effectively is because our team took the time to build these definitions and to build these endpoints and to carefully document all the types, right? Because once you give documentation and well-defined types to an agent, it can figure out a lot, and that's what it did. Any questions about that whole workflow and what we have here in the transactions package? Okay, so that was a little deep dive into this Andamio transactions that the T3 app template is importing. And you'll see that used throughout the app. And the other one for the DB API, this can also be found in the mono repo. So here's the packages, Andamio transaction. Here's the actual project we're looking at right now, T3 app template. It's the same directory. And then here's the Andamio database API. This is the source code for this URL right here, right? Okay, so Andamio API URL is the access point for everything that's written here in the Andamio DB API. The reason we need to import a package, this package, right? This is not the API. This is a package that helps you use the API. And this gives you types for all of the endpoints in this API. So that's how you'll see it's used, okay? And all we can do, one of the easy ways to do this is if I just search for this import statement, I'll find it across the app. So obviously there's a bunch of documentation here, but here's a page file, right? So we're importing from Andamio DB API. What are we importing? We're importing a type for course output and for listing the course modules. And you can see because we built and published and then imported that package, we have some really nice types that contributes to all the IntelliSense and code completion that you'll find as you work on a component like this. Any questions there? Okay, so let me jump back to the documentation. So we looked at the entry point. I gave you a little opening, getting started, Discord, GitHub, and this Google Meet link are what you'll need. If you do indeed want to run the T3 app template locally, Here are the environment variables. And now we're starting up live coding. Now, the agenda is going to evolve over time. And this is going to be a really active page right here. At the top, you can see today's agenda. My goal is just to get the GitHub handle from everybody who wants to share it. I want you to get access to the Andamio T3 app template and run it locally. And then as you do start to play around, if you see something that you'd be interested in changing or that you think somebody else should change, make sure to submit that as an issue to the GitHub repo. And if you're not sure how to do that, we can share screen anytime and demonstrate that. Then if you want to keep going, there's this focus areas section. And this is going to be changing all the time. This is like the live workbench for our course. And right, so when I talk about building in public, transaction cost verification, reconstructing on-chain data, V2 transaction parsing, the reason these things are listed here is because we are actually working on them right now, okay? So when we talk about live coding, I want you to know that if I was working alone or if the Andamio team was working behind closed doors right now, these are precisely the things we'd be working on. And so this is just a place where we can share that with you, and we'll keep it up to date as we go. Any questions on that?
Is that AI generated as you go by, or is that the manual operation you're doing?
Great question. Okay, so if one of my rules for myself that I've developed as I learn to use the AI tools is when I finish a session, I always ask twice at the end of the session, hey, is the documentation up to date? And the way agents work, right? They're like 8-year-old children cleaning their rooms. They'll always do a little bit more if you ask again and again, okay? And so what I try to do is whatever work we actually accomplish, I'm trying to get the agent to maintain the code, or sorry, maintain the documentation. And sometimes I have to tell it how to do that. So the structure of this file, I wrote this by hand. But then, yes, at the end of a session making updates, I had it do, a review. Hey, what transaction costs have we checked so far? Oh, these 5. All right, here's ones that don't have a green check mark. Yeah, it knows that we haven't gone through those yet. So I'm getting help to update this file, but I'm doing most of the work of like defining what should be there, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
The reason I was asking was just wondering if you have a project board or something related to GitHub and it's connected, does it like automatically start kind of connect others people work into it, or is
yeah, well, that's why I'm asking people to make sure to add issues, right? Well, we can put issues on any kind of task management board, whether we prefer a checklist or a Kanban style. And that's the place where anybody who's really engaging in Pioneers, right? Everybody's welcome to come sit in these meetings. That's a feature of Gimbalabs for a long time. And we're going to make it one here. If you just want to come hang out and passively kind of see what's going on, absolutely. But if you do want to take that next step and start contributing, this is where that work will happen, right? The issues list, and then we'll prioritize those and we'll start assigning those to each other. Well, let's look at the template. We have a few minutes left, and I'm hoping that when we actually look at this thing running, it'll raise some questions for you. So I have it going locally, 3,000. Here's a landing page. Yep. Based on Claude's understanding of what we're building here, I asked it to build a landing page, and this is what it came up with. You can decide if you like that marketing strategy, but this is certainly not permanent right here. All right. You can scroll through there. You can play around. I'm definitely interested in anybody who really wants to help build that messaging. Be in touch. And here's my dashboard, right? Nothing special yet, not styled. We did a little cleanup here. I told it to professionalize the sidebar. Okay, but what happens when I log in? I get issues because I don't have an account set. Let's see about that. I'll have two different ones set. Let's try this. There we go. You can't see, but my eternal window just popped up here. So I'm just signing, not a transaction, but just a message to log into the platform. I'll try that one more time. Sorry, I've been moving between a bunch of different wallet accounts. You'll see that error sometimes when you switch wallets. There we go. All right. Very nice. So I'm logged in now. And we have a bunch of messy data, right? This is just kind of thrown here on the page. It's not really styled yet, but we can start to play around. You can see my connected address. You can see that I've minted an access token on pre-prod. And I'd like to show you that via the API in just a moment, okay? And if you log in for the first time and don't yet have an access token, this will prompt you to mint one. Remember, of course, that we're on Cardano pre-prod. So I'm assuming that you know how to connect a wallet like Eternal to the pre-production testnet. I can do a few things here. I can manage courses and projects in the studio. Just remember that we haven't implemented all the project stuff yet. So while you'll be able to see a little bit here related to the database entities around projects, you're not going to be able to do much. For now, what you can do is you can play around with the course studio. Now, take a look here. When I look at this list of courses, I can see that I have 3 of them. But notice that the status of each is a little bit different. This one is confirmed on chain, and it has a name. This one right here and this one right here say not in database. What does that mean? Well, to get to the root of this, we're going to have to look at our APIs just a little bit. So this is where we're going to finish up for today. All right, we have database, Andamio scan, and a transaction API. Let's use this Andamio scan link first, just to see what we can find there. Oops, and I got it right. Swagger. Okay. Now you'll learn about this documentation. All 3 of the data URLs that are shared in the environment variables have Swagger docs similar to this. And in this one, we're going to ignore the transactions. Okay, hopefully these red X's send the right signal. We're going to ignore the transactions for now. So as you can see, there's actually not that many endpoints for us to play with. But as you will also see, we can do a lot with this. And to start, let me just show you a list of all of the users that we have so far. Look, it's a pretty short list. That's very exciting. That's because Andamio V2 is brand new on pre-prod. We just spun it up in the last few days. Is Nelson still here? Hey, Nelson. Yep. I noticed this user get all endpoint is updating much more slowly than I want to, and it leads to broken transactions for a couple hours after an access token is first minted.
The Dolos instance was down for some time. Probably that's the
was with it. Okay, cool. But look, there's a list. This is going to grow over time. On Andamio mainnet V1, we've got, I think, 400 access tokens minted, well, Andamio scan would tell us. Maybe we have 400 users in the database, but a couple hundred access tokens minted. And soon we'll be back to that point. The other thing I can see here is I can see this list of courses. And if I don't provide any query params, I can just see an entire list. Now check it out. we can go deeper into several parts of this data as we go, but for now, I just want to focus on one thing. Each course in this list of all on-chain courses has an ID, an address, a course state policy ID, a list of teachers, and some content. And the first thing I want to focus on is this course ID. This is the on-chain policy ID of an identifier NFT that was created when this course was created. How is this course created? Well, let's look at the transaction API for just a minute. Oops. What is it, docs for this one? Yeah, there it is. Look right here. So this, again, this is the transaction API. So we have a transaction in V2 where the admin of a course can create a new course. And if you're familiar with building transactions, you know that this might be complicated. And we can show you under the hood everything that's going on. But this is all you need in order to build a transaction. And if you're able to provide the address of the connected wallet that should be receiving the change, you can make these different if you want to, but in this case, there's no reason to.
James, that's not completely correct. You don't need the wallet data object. So you don't need to provide the user address.
It could just be a string right here instead, wallet data address.
It can be nothing. You can just leave it.
Because your alias is sufficient.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. So even better. So this is going to be even simpler. And I'll actually update that when we call this. Okay. So this is a even simpler endpoint. Wallet data is optional. My alias is James. And when I create a course, I want to add myself and optionally a list of other access token holders that are going to be teachers on this course. When I submit to this endpoint, let's try it. Let's get rid of the wallet data bit. Let's look at the list of available users here. I know that I'm this guy, so I'm going to use my name here. I would like to be a teacher in this course, but maybe so does test 1, 2. When I execute this query, watch what happens. Right? It returns unsigned TX CBOR. It also gives me that course ID. Ah, that's the ID that's going to be showing up like right here, right? Or in our database like we just looked at. Okay, back to that in just a second. But if you didn't know this already, one thing you can also do is you can copy this unsigned CBOR. I'm just copying it to my clipboard as a string. And let me open up Eternal. And Shaggy, I'll get to that in just a second. And if I'm in Eternal Wallet and I go to send a transaction, there's a button over here under options that says import. And if I paste this string right here, it's a long string, but it's just a string. If I paste that right here, watch what happens. A little transaction preview pops up because this is a transaction. It's a valid, what kind of transaction? Unsigned, right? It needs to be signed. And that's why when I import it into my wallet, what did it do? Well, it asked for a signature. Yeah, this is an unsigned transaction. But what does Eternal do? It shows me this whole thing. Here's the inputs. Here's what we're going to reference. Here's all the outputs. Don't worry about understanding this yet. What I'm showing you right here is why it's awesome that the endpoint only requires this when behind the scenes, all of this is happening. And this is why we're so excited about the Andamio APIs, right? We're moving past a stage where somebody needs to know the nuts and bolts of how to build all that transaction infrastructure. All they need is an access token, and they know how to make an API call like this. And then they know how to pull that unsigned CBOR into an application, let users sign it, and then make sure that things happen in the app after that happens. All right, so if you're starting to understand that design pattern, that's the invitation here, right? If you think you can build with APIs like this, and you want to use the template to start exploring what we can do once somebody has a course, that's what this template is going to allow us to do. Any questions or thoughts on that? Okay. So I want to close out right here. The other thing I can see is that, well, this course on Andamio 101 with this policy ID starting with 23A6 is confirmed on chain and it has a name. Well, if it has a name, it must be in the database. And I can confirm this as well. One more link. We've got our database URL right here. Database. Let's open up the Swagger for that. Oh, without this part. I'll make sure there's clean links to all of these in the docs. And let's just look at all of the published courses that are currently in our database, right? This is the off-chain stuff. And you can see off-chain in our database, there's only one course so far. It's that Andamio 101 that we can see right here, and that has this policy ID, 23A6. Yeah, there it is. And when I look at the on-chain, on-chain code, and I look at this list of all courses, I should find that one of these course IDs starts with 23A6. Here it is. Look. Right? Course ID that matches what's in the database right here and has this title. Now, you shouldn't be surprised to see that who are the teachers in this course. Well, I'm one of them, right? That's why I can see this course in my studio. But what about these untitled ones? Well, they just don't have titles. They're not in our database yet, but I think I should be able to find a course with a policy ID 68396F. Let's see if we can find that. Here it is, right down below. Look, right? Course ID 68396F. Same teacher, great. No modules yet, and not in our database. So this is one of the concepts that you're going to see on our current workbench, right? I could fix this right now. We could use this import function, but I want to ask you a philosophical question because we only have a few minutes left. And so going back to our agenda, into the live coding session, and into these focus areas, one of the things we're thinking about is right here, on-chain data reconstruction. The Cardano blockchain, one of the reasons I use it is because it's, broadly speaking, a lot more reliable than just some database I could spin up. I could easily make a mistake pressing a few buttons or typing the wrong command, and delete a whole database. But I can't do the same thing with Cardano. Somebody fat-fingered or whatever the story is about maybe breaking mainnet a few weeks ago, right? But even when that happened, thousands of people got together and they solved that problem, right? So there's this value to on-chain data, and sometimes there's going to be on-chain artifacts that are, for whatever reason, not in our database. Well, which one is the source of truth? Is the source of truth the database that we have just one instance of that has this course right here? Or is the source of truth the Cardano blockchain that actually has several different courses on it? And you can see, obviously, like this one is a test, right? But still, you get the idea. There's this policy ID that just is not in our database yet. And so the UX right here is my first attempt to play around with what an access token holder should see if there's an on-chain artifact that's not yet listed in the database. Should we allow them to import a course? Should we allow them to save a title for this course? Right? So I just did. If I go back to the database and I execute this again, look, there's the course I just created, right? But when I did that, nothing changed on chain. Nothing changed right here. So what are the implications of that? So a little food for thought. We do have to wrap for now because I have another meeting to get to. We're doing this again in 5 hours, and it'll be a similar agenda, but we'll see if we go deeper or what questions people bring to that session. We're going to keep doing this. And so before we sign off, let me just share one thing I've learned about building in public. Building in public is sometimes hard to schedule, okay? And so what we're going to try to do is give you some warning and commit maybe at least to these Wednesday sessions. This works really well for me. If you want to be part of these sessions and Wednesdays at the times we offer don't work for you, please don't hesitate to reach out and we can explore other possible times together. But another thing that's guaranteed to happen is some of us might get inspired at any given moment, and you can't schedule inspiration, right? So there's going to be times when I jump into the Andamio Network Discord just to build in public, and that doesn't mean you have to drop everything and join me. It just means, hey, I'm around if you're around and you want to stop by, okay? Please don't feel like you have to attend those sessions. Please do not set notifications for that kind of thing. Just know that the Andamio Network Discord server is a space where people are welcome to drop by and do stuff, and I intend to be doing that, okay? Any questions about that way of working? We'll do our best, but you can't always schedule when these sessions are going to run. All right, friends. Hey, thanks for being here for this first session. We've got the recording. We'll post it. We'll post the notes. If you get inspired and have questions, you know where to find us in that Discord. And looking forward to keeping this going.